Admiral Rebecca Stone stood in the command center of Terran Defense watching holographic displays that showed the most dangerous situation humanity had ever faced. Reports were coming in from the edge of the Kythera Nebula, where 3 alien fleets had surrounded her ships. The situation was getting worse by the hour. She called for Director Helen Carter from Intelligence to join her immediately. Carter appeared on the main communication screen within minutes, looking grim and tired. The intelligence chief had been working without sleep since the first reports came in about the mysterious Phoenix. Carter began speaking without waiting for pleasantries. The deep space monitoring stations had detected massive energy signatures coming from inside the Forbidden Nebula. The readings were unlike anything they had seen before. The Phoenix was not just surviving in the deadly environment but seemed to be growing stronger. Rebecca Stone felt a chill run down her spine as she studied the energy pattern reports. Whatever had happened to the Phoenix inside the nebula had changed it into something beyond human understanding. The ship that emerged was no longer just a vessel, but had become something alive. Meanwhile, Commander Lisa Harper aboard the UES Vengeance faced the most difficult decision of her military career. 3 alien fleets had formed a complete blockade around the nebula entrance. Their weapons were charged and ready to fire at any human ship that tried to approach or leave the area. The lead Zephyrian admiral sent a message through the universal translator that left no room for negotiation. His scaled face appeared on the main screen with eyes that burned like stars. He spoke in a voice that carried the authority of an empire that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. The alien commander demanded that all human vessels retreat immediately and submit to inspection by the Galactic Council. He claimed that humanity had violated the most sacred law known to civilized species. The entities sealed within the Kythera Nebula had been imprisoned for the protection of all life in the galaxy. The Zephyrian admiral gave Harper exactly 1 hour to comply with his demands or face the consequences. His fleet alone could destroy every human ship in the sector, but he was not alone. The Molten Collective and Veil Syndicate fleets would join the attack if necessary. Before Harper could send a reply, the space around her ship began to shimmer and glow. The nebula entrance started pulsing with waves of energy that made their instruments go wild. Something large was emerging from the swirling clouds of deadly particles. The UES Phoenix came out of the nebula like a ghost returning from the dead, but the ship that appeared bore little resemblance to any human design. Its hull had taken on an organic appearance that pulsed with patterns of blue and green light. The metal seemed to breathe and flow like living tissue. Navigation Officer Amy Wells gasped as her sensors tried to analyze the transformed vessel. The Phoenix was no longer made of normal matter but some combination of metal and biological material. Its energy signature was off all known scales. The ship radiated power that could reshape reality itself. Captain Emma Taylor opened a communication channel from the Phoenix to the Vengeance. When her face appeared on screen, Harper barely recognized her old friend. Taylor's eyes now glowed with an inner light that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. Her voice carried harmonics that resonated through space itself. Taylor warned Harper not to engage with the alien fleets under any circumstances. She spoke of making contact with something extraordinary inside the nebula. The galaxy was about to change forever, and humanity would be at the center of that transformation. The alien fleets reacted with panic and rage when they detected the Phoenix emerging from the Forbidden Zone. The Molten Collective ships began heating up their plasma cannons, while the Veil Syndicate vessels started phasing in and out of reality. All 3 fleets were preparing for immediate attack. Admiral Rebecca Stone received an emergency transmission from Commander Harper describing the transformed Phoenix. The intelligence reports she was hearing seemed impossible, but the sensor data confirmed every incredible detail. The ship had become something beyond their understanding. Director Helen Carter pulled up classified files that had been sealed for over 300 years. These documents contained warnings from ancient civilizations about the dangers hidden within the Kythera Nebula. Every advanced species in galactic history had learned to fear what slept in those energy clouds. The files spoke of beings called the Harbingers who had once ruled the galaxy before any current civilization existed. They were described as gardeners who planted the seeds of life across countless worlds. But something had gone wrong, and they had been forced into exile in the Forbidden Zone. Captain Emma Taylor continued broadcasting from the Phoenix, but her messages were becoming harder to understand. Her speech patterns were changing as her consciousness merged with something ancient and powerful. She spoke of awakening forces that had been sleeping for millions of years. The Zephyrian admiral sent another message to all human ships in the area. This time his voice carried pure terror instead of anger. He begged the humans to retreat before they doomed every living thing in the galaxy. The beings inside the nebula had nearly destroyed all life once before. Lisa Harper realized that humanity had stumbled into a situation far beyond their ability to control. The Phoenix was no longer under human command, but had become a vessel for entities older than stellar formation. The question was whether these ancient beings saw humanity as allies or as threats to be eliminated. More ships began emerging from the nebula behind the Phoenix. These vessels belonged to species that had been extinct for millions of years. All of them had been transformed into organic machines that pulsed with the same otherworldly energy. The Harbingers were returning to reclaim their galaxy. Commander Lisa Harper felt her heart stop as she stared at the main screen of her ship, the UES Vengeance. Her crew members ran around the bridge, checking instruments and pressing buttons with panic in their eyes. The quantum sensors had just found something that should not exist in this part of space. Deep inside the Kythera Nebula sat a human ship. This was impossible because no human vessel could survive in that forbidden zone. The nebula was known across the galaxy as a place where ships went to die. Strange energy fields inside the nebula could tear apart the strongest metals and destroy any living thing that entered. Navigation Officer Amy Wells turned to face her commander with shaking hands. Her voice cracked as she spoke the words that would change everything. The signature coming from the unknown vessel was definitely human in origin. But this made no sense because Earth technology was not advanced enough to survive those deadly quantum storms. The mysterious ship appeared on their viewing screen like a ghost from the past. Its design was unlike anything in the human fleet databases. The hull seemed to glow with strange light that moved across its surface like living waves. Most shocking of all was the identification signal it broadcast into space. Lieutenant Kate Brooks from the communications department went pale as she read the incoming message. The ship was calling itself the UES Phoenix. Every person on the bridge knew this name from their history lessons. The Phoenix had been destroyed over Earth. During the Martian Independence War in the year 2157, that was almost 200 years ago, Lisa Harper had commanded ships for 20 years but had never seen anything like this. A dead ship from the past was now alive and well inside the most dangerous region of known space. The Phoenix looked different from the old records, though. Its hull had a flowing design that seemed to breathe and pulse with its own life. Amy Wells checked her instruments 3 more times before speaking again. The energy readings from the Phoenix were beyond anything their sensors could properly measure. The ship was not just surviving inside the nebula, but seemed to be drawing power from the deadly energy fields that should have destroyed it. As the crew of the Vengeance tried to understand what they were seeing, other ships began to appear on their long-range scanners. These were not human vessels but alien warships from 3 different species. The Zephyrian Empire fleet arrived first with their massive battle cruisers that looked like floating cities of metal and crystal. Behind them came the ships of the Molten Collective. These vessels appeared to be made from living rock and metal that glowed with internal fire. Their hulls moved and shifted like the surface of a volcano. Finally, the most terrifying ships of all emerged from hyperspace. The Veil Syndicate fleet seemed to be made of shadows and light that flickered in and out of reality. Kate Brooks received multiple incoming transmissions from the alien fleets. All 3 species were demanding that the human ships leave the area immediately. They wanted to know how humans had managed to enter the Forbidden Zone and survive. More importantly, they wanted to know what the humans had found inside. The Zephyrian fleet commander sent a message that made everyone on the bridge feel cold with fear. He spoke of ancient laws that prohibited any species from entering the Kythera Nebula. These laws had been in place for over 3,000 years. The punishment for breaking them was complete destruction of the offending species. Lisa Harper realized that her ship and crew were now caught between the mysterious Phoenix and 3 alien fleets that could destroy all of humanity if they chose to do so. The alien commanders were clearly afraid of something inside the nebula. Their fear was so great that ancient enemies had joined forces to keep whatever lived there locked away from the rest of the galaxy. Amy Wells reported that more alien ships were arriving every hour. Soon there would be hundreds of warships surrounding the nebula, Some of these vessels belonged to species that humans had never encountered before. They all shared the same look of terror when scanning the area where the Phoenix had emerged. The communications officer received another transmission from inside the nebula. This time it was not from the Phoenix but from something else entirely. The message was in a language that their computers could not translate. The sounds were like music mixed with the whispers of dying stars. Lieutenant Kate Brooks tried to boost the signal to get a clearer reading. As she adjusted the controls, something strange happened to the main screen. For just a moment they could see deeper into the nebula than ever before. What they saw there would haunt their dreams forever. More ships were moving in the depths of the swirling energy clouds. Dozens of vessels from different time periods and different species floated through the nebula like ghosts. Some looked human but were clearly much older than any ship in their records. Others belonged to alien races that were supposed to be extinct for millions of years. Lisa Harper knew that her next decision would determine not just the fate of her crew, but possibly the future of all life in the galaxy. The Forbidden Zone held secrets that powerful civilizations had tried to keep buried for thousands of years. Now humanity had stumbled into the middle of the greatest mystery in galactic history. The Phoenix continued to broadcast its impossible identification signal while alien fleets prepared for what might become the most devastating war the galaxy had ever seen. Captain Emma Taylor stood on the bridge of the transformed Phoenix watching reality bend around her ship. The vessel had become something between machine and living creature. Walls breathed with organic rhythms while control panels responded to her thoughts before she could speak commands aloud. Her crew had changed along with the ship. First Officer Maria Santos now had eyes that glowed with the same blue light that pulsed through the Phoenix hull. The transformation was spreading through everyone who spent time aboard the vessel. They were becoming something more than human, but still remembered who they used to be. Taylor explained to her confused crew about the beings they had encountered in the depths of the nebula. The Harbingers had been the first intelligent life in the galaxy. They had existed for billions of years before any current species had evolved from primitive creatures on distant worlds. These ancient beings had not died when their physical forms grew old. Instead, they had learned to exist as pure energy that could travel through space and time. They had become one with the fabric of reality itself. The nebula had been their home for millions of years while they waited for the right moment to return. Lieutenant Commander Grace Miller from the Science Division ran her hands over the living walls of the ship. Her instruments could barely measure the energy flowing through every surface. The vessel could now reshape matter at the quantum level. They were not just exploring space anymore, but had become part of it. The Phoenix had become a bridge between the physical world and the realm of pure energy where the Harbingers existed. Through the ship, they could interact with solid matter and communicate with younger species. The transformation was not just changing the vessel but creating a new form of life. Back at the nebula entrance, the alien fleets were becoming more agitated with each passing hour. The molten collective warships began charging their planet-killing weapons. These massive cannons could destroy entire worlds with a single shot. The crystalline hulls of their ships glowed white-hot with contained fury. The Veil Syndicate fleet prepared for an assault that could tear holes in the fabric of space itself. Their ghost ships phased in and out of different dimensions as they powered up weapons that existed in multiple realities at once. Even other alien species feared the destructive power of Veil technology. Admiral Rebecca Stone arrived at the blockade zone aboard her flagship, the UES Titan. She brought with her the largest human fleet ever assembled in one location. Hundreds of warships took positions around the nebula entrance, but even this massive force looked small compared to the alien armadas as Stone prepared for what might be humanity's final battle. Her sensors detected something that made her blood run cold. Deep within the nebula, dozens of new ships were beginning to move. These vessels had been sleeping in the energy clouds for millions of years, waiting for the right moment to awaken. Ships belonged to civilizations that had vanished from the galaxy long before humans had even evolved on Earth. Some had been extinct for so long that their names were forgotten by every living species. Yet here they were moving through the nebula, transformed into something new and terrifying. Each awakened vessel showed signs of the same organic transformation that had changed the Phoenix. Hull metal had become living tissue that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. These ships were no longer just machines, but had become vessels for the returning Harbingers to inhabit. Grace Miller made a Discovery that would shake the foundations of everything they thought they knew about galactic history. The organic matrices growing throughout the Phoenix contained vast libraries of information. These crystal formations stored the complete memories and knowledge of the Harbingers. As she connected her mind to the alien memory banks, Miller saw visions of the galaxy as it had been millions of years ago. The Harbingers had not been conquerors or destroyers as current civilizations believed. They had been gardeners who carefully cultivated life across countless worlds. Every planet that now supported intelligent life had been seeded by the Harbingers in the distant past. They had guided the evolution of countless species, including the ancestors of the Zephyrians and Molten Collective. Even humanity owed its existence to their ancient influence. But something had gone wrong with their great experiment. A cosmic disaster had forced the Harbingers to retreat into the nebula, where they could exist safely as beings of pure energy. They had been waiting for the right conditions to return to physical form and continue their work. Captain Taylor found her consciousness expanding as she merged more completely with the Harbinger Collective. Through their vast knowledge, she could see the quantum threads that connected every living thing in the galaxy. All life was part of a single enormous organism that spanned the stars. The Harbingers had been trying to nurture this galactic consciousness for eons. Each species they had created was meant to be a different organ in this cosmic body, but the younger races had forgotten their true purpose and begun fighting among themselves instead of working together. Maria Santos discovered something even more disturbing in the alien archives. The galaxy had gone through cycles of creation and destruction many times before. When civilizations failed to achieve the harmony the Harbingers sought, they would be recycled to make room for new attempts at perfection. The current galactic civilizations were not the first to achieve spaceflight and form interstellar empires. There had been others before them who had risen to great heights, only to be swept away when they proved unable to transcend their violent natures. The question now facing everyone was whether the current cycle of galactic civilization would be allowed to continue or if it would be harvested to make room for something new. The Harbingers were studying the younger species to determine if they had evolved enough to deserve survival. Taylor realized that humanity had become the test case for the entire galaxy. The Harbingers had chosen humans as their primary vessels for returning to physical form. How well humanity adapted to this transformation would determine the fate of every other intelligent species. The Phoenix continued to change as more Harbinger consciousness flowed into its organic systems. The ship was becoming a living temple where ancient wisdom merged with human curiosity and determination. The galaxy would soon learn whether this combination would. Dr. Nina Foster made the discovery that would change everything known about galactic civilization. Deep in the archive chambers of the transformed Phoenix, she found crystalline matrices that stored millions of years of Harbinger memories. What she learned there would shake the foundations of every advanced species. The Galactic Council had built their entire civilization on a lie. Foster announced her findings to both the Phoenix crew and the human fleet through quantum communication links. The Harbingers had never been destroyers, as every species believed. They had been the creators and guardians of all intelligent life in the galaxy. Every spacefaring civilization owed their existence to Harbinger influence. The ancient beings had carefully guided evolution on countless worlds over billions of years. They had been cosmic gardeners who nurtured the development of intelligence wherever they found the right conditions. The revelation sent shockwaves through the alien fleets surrounding the nebula. Captain Zixandra of the Zephyrian flagship found her scaled hands shaking as her own scientists confirmed the human discoveries through their historical databases. Ancient genetic markers in their DNA matched Harbinger design patterns. The Molten Collective hive mind queens experienced something they had never felt before. Discord spread through their shared consciousness as suppressed memories awakened in their crystalline cores. They began to remember dreams of vast beings made of light who had shaped their ancestors from living rock. Even the ethereal veil syndicate found their phase-shifted existence disrupted by the revelations. Their ability to exist in multiple dimensions at once had been a gift from the Harbingers in ages past. Everything they thought they knew about their origins crumbled under the weight of recovered truth. Commander Jennifer Walsh aboard the Phoenix made an even more disturbing discovery as she explored deeper into the Harbinger archives. The ancient beings had not created galactic civilization just once. They had done it multiple times throughout cosmic history when previous attempts had failed. The galaxy went through vast cycles of seeding, growth, harvest, and renewal. Current civilizations were not the first to achieve interstellar travel and build great empires. There had been others before them who had risen to incredible heights only to be swept away when they proved inadequate. Walsh found records of at least 7 previous galactic civilizations. Each had been nurtured by the Harbingers until they reached technological maturity. Then came a period of testing to determine if they had evolved beyond their primitive, violent natures. Most had failed this test. The species that failed to achieve harmony and wisdom were not simply destroyed. Their life essence was recycled into new forms that would hopefully prove more successful. The energy that had once been warriors and conquerors became the foundation for poets and philosophers in the next cycle. Captain Emma Taylor stood at the center of the Phoenix, organic bridge with her consciousness partially merged with the Harbinger collective. Through her transformed awareness, she could perceive the quantum threads that connected every living being in the galaxy. She saw the cosmic pattern they were all part of. Taylor spoke with a voice that carried harmonics from beyond normal space. The Harbingers were offering the current galactic civilizations a choice that no previous cycle had been given. They could join willingly in transcending their physical limitations, or they could resist and face recycling. But something was different this time that the ancient beings had not expected. Taylor explained that humanity brought chaos and unpredictability that fascinated the Harbingers. Human nature contained contradictions that even cosmic gardeners found difficult to understand. The archives revealed that every previous civilization had followed predictable patterns of development. They grew in power and knowledge until they reached a peak, then began to decline due to internal conflicts. The cycles had become routine for the Harbingers over millions of years. Humans were different in ways that challenged ancient assumptions about intelligent life. They could be simultaneously creative and destructive, cooperative and competitive, wise and foolish. This unpredictability made them far more interesting than any previous species. Dr. Foster discovered that the Harbingers had been observing humanity for thousands of years, trying to understand what made them so unique. Human civilization developed in ways that defied all previous patterns. They created art and music that touched something deep in the cosmic consciousness. The ancient beings found themselves genuinely curious about what humans might become if allowed to continue evolving. This curiosity was something they had not felt for millions of years. It reminded them of what they had been like when they were still young and discovering the universe. Jennifer Walsh found records showing that some Harbingers disagreed about how to handle humanity. A faction wanted to proceed with the normal harvest and recycling process, but others argued for allowing humans to continue developing, even if it meant accepting more chaos in the galactic order. This disagreement within the Harbinger collective was unprecedented in their cosmic history. They had always acted with perfect unity of purpose. The fact that humans could cause division among beings older than stars proved just how unusual this species truly was. Taylor received visions showing her the choice that lay before all galactic civilizations. They could accept Harbinger guidance and transcend into beings of pure energy, like their creators. Or they could choose to remain in physical form and face an uncertain future without cosmic protection. The decision would determine not just the fate of current species, but the entire future of the galaxy. Would the next cycle be one of transcendent beings working in perfect harmony, or would it continue to contain the beautiful chaos that made existence truly alive and unpredictable? Emma Taylor realized that her role had become more than just captain of a transformed ship. She had become the bridge between ancient wisdom and youthful chaos. The choice she made would echo through eternity and shape the destiny of countless worlds yet to be born. Admiral Rebecca Stone stood on the bridge of her flagship, staring at the transformed Phoenix as it pulsed with otherworldly light. The ship that had once been humanity pride now contained consciousness older than stellar formation. Everything she had known about the universe was crumbling around her. Captain Emma Taylor spoke through the quantum communication link, but her voice now carried the weight of cosmic ages. She explained that the Harbingers were offering something unprecedented to all galactic civilizations. Instead of forced transcendence, they were presenting a choice that honored free will. The ancient beings proposed a partnership that would allow species to evolve beyond physical limitations while still maintaining their unique characteristics. The Zephyrians could keep their warrior traditions while gaining cosmic awareness. The Molten Collective could preserve their hive mind unity while expanding into higher dimensions. Lieutenant Sarah Parker aboard the Vengeance asked the question that would define the galaxy future. She wondered aloud what would happen to those who chose not to transcend. What if some species preferred to remain as they were, rather than become something greater but alien to their nature? This simple question seemed to genuinely puzzle the Harbingers through their human vessels. Taylor admitted that no previous galactic civilization had ever requested to remain in their current evolutionary state. The concept of choosing limitation over unlimited power was completely foreign to cosmic gardeners. Commander Julia Hayes of the UES Defiant proposed the solution that would reshape galactic politics forever. She suggested a treaty that would allow some beings to evolve, while others remained unchanged. The galaxy could become a garden with many different types of flowers rather than a field of identical crops. The alien fleets that had been preparing for devastating war found themselves engaged in the most important negotiation in galactic history. The Harbingers, speaking through transformed human crews, agreed to consider something they had never attempted before, a universe where transcendence was offered but not required. Captain Zixandra of the Zephyrian Empire struggled with the implications of this choice. Her people had built their entire culture around the concept of earning glory through battle. Transcending to pure energy would eliminate the physical conflicts that gave their lives meaning and purpose. The Molten Collective hive mind queens faced a different dilemma. Their shared consciousness was based on their crystalline biological structure. Becoming beings of pure energy might dissolve the bonds that held their civilization together for millions of years. Dr.
Nina Foster became the first human to
volunteer for complete transcendence with the Harbinger Collective. As her consciousness expanded beyond physical form, she established new protocols for bridging the gap between transcendent and physical realms. She became a living translator between two very different states of existence through Foster transformed awareness. The galaxy learned that transcendence did not require abandoning everything about their current existence. Transcendent beings could choose to maintain connections to physical reality. They could experience both states of being simultaneously. The Veil Syndicate found this concept particularly appealing since they already existed partially in other dimensions. Their phase-shifting abilities had prepared them for existence across multiple states of reality. They became eager volunteers for the new Transcendence protocols. Captain Taylor maintained her dual nature as both human and Harbinger as she helped negotiate the terms of galactic transformation. Some humans would serve as permanent bridges between physical and transcendent realms. Others would remain completely human to preserve the chaos and creativity that made their species so interesting. Admiral Stone made the decision that secured humanity place in the new galactic order. She agreed to allow volunteer crews to undergo partial transcendence, while keeping the majority of human space forces in their original form. This would provide both stability and the unpredictability that fascinated the Harbingers. The Kithra Nebula began to glow with unprecedented beauty as ships from across the galaxy approached the transformation zone. Species that had been enemies for millennia found themselves working together to create something entirely new in cosmic history. Jennifer Walsh discovered that the transcendence process could be reversed for those who decided they preferred physical existence. The Harbingers had learned from human concepts of choice and freedom. Nobody would be forced to remain in a state they found uncomfortable. As the first truly integrated galactic civilization began to take shape, the old boundaries between species started to dissolve. Transcendent beings could share experiences and knowledge instantly across vast distances. Physical beings provided the creativity and unpredictability that kept existence interesting. The Phoenix became the first embassy between transcendent and physical realms. Captain Taylor split her time between human form and pure energy existence. She could negotiate with both types of beings and help resolve conflicts before they became serious problems. Years passed as the new galactic society established itself. The Harbingers learned to appreciate diversity and chaos as valuable forces, rather than problems to be eliminated. They discovered that perfect harmony was less interesting than the beautiful complexity of imperfect cooperation. Some species chose full transcendence and became cosmic gardeners themselves. Others remained completely physical and continued exploring the universe in traditional ways. Most chose a middle path that combined The best aspects of both states of existence, Emma. Taylor stood on her organic bridge watching as human children played with young Zephyrians while their transcendent parents shared knowledge across the stars. The galaxy had become something unprecedented, a place where ancient wisdom and youthful energy worked together to create wonders beyond imagination. The Forbidden Zone had become a beacon of possibility, proof that even beings older than stars could learn something new from the youngest species in the galaxy. Humanity had not only survived their encounter with cosmic forces, but had taught those forces the value of embracing beautiful imperfection. The universe stretched out before them, filled with infinite possibilities. For the first time in millions of years, the Harbingers were genuinely excited to see what would grow next in their cosmic garden.